Welcome back. It's Nordo and John Kriesel on site. We're at the 125th Army-Navy game, as always presented by USAA. Beautiful property here, the Military Women's Memorial, Arlington National here in Washington, D.C., and we are super happy to be joined now by Army Athletics Director Mike Buddie. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's your worst nightmare to walk to these radio row and nobody wants to talk to you, so thanks for bailing me out, you guys.
No, I appreciate you were walking around and just trying to shake hands and just joking around. But
I had a few dollars in case I needed them. Yeah, absolutely.
We're happy to have you.
How's this week been for you? The focus, of course, is tomorrow's 125th game. And, of course, 6 of 8 now for Army, so everyone's feeling good at West Point and the job that Monken's doing and all of that. But this is a week that's built up, from your standpoint, athletics galore, from boxing and other sports and festivities. How's the celebration been for you in particular this week?
Well, there is no celebration for me. I wish we could sit back and take a deep breath, but to your point, there's so much going on. Normally we have an off week leading into this game, but, of course, we had to go and win the American Athletic Conference. It took away our bye week. But, yeah, we feel really good about it. And you mentioned Coach Monken. Like, he's just an exceptional fit. He's an exceptional, disciplined, detailed coach. And the recipe that he's got is working. But, Navy's no joke. They're really good this year. It's kind of cool that I think there's 19 wins between the two academies. So we don't get to celebrate a whole lot. We had a hockey game last night, 2 basketball games, a wrestling match today. So we're gonna get around and try to showcase these young people who deserve to be appreciated as Division I athletes, and then it culminates with the game tomorrow.
So in the last 30 years, Army has appeared in the national rankings 4 times. 3 of those have been under Coach Monken. So everyone is aware, I'm sure, that he was a final candidate for the West Virginia job. You have to be relieved, and I'm sure the program is relieved to keep him.
Well, this week was not without stressors, I will tell you. He's, as I alluded to, right, he's just an exceptional fit. The rankings are great, ending the long drought against Navy. Guys, the Army Black Knights were ranked in 4 of the 5 college football playoff polls this year. Like, think about what that means in a year where the payrolls are between $12 to $20 million for these big Power 4 schools. And here we are. Not only do we not pay NIL, we have to convince young kids to give us 5 years of their lives at a minimum in service to their country. And what Coach Monken and what, frankly, these young men have been able to do is humbling from my position. And
I wanted to ask you about that, because the NIL universe is something that's taking things by storm back in Minneapolis, home of Gophers football and Gophers athletics. And trying to figure out effectively, just seeing in the news, for instance, Bill Belichick heading down to Chapel Hill, and Michael Lombardi, an executive who was with Bill in New England, now kind of the GM. And that's just it's kind of an odd concept to think about it, but that's how quickly it's changing. So when it comes to the academies, in particular the Black Knights, I think about traditional recruiting. Let's go find that 5-star athlete, and then we figure out the academics. Yeah. It's interesting from an academy standpoint with that service commitment and really so many things that are going to happen off the football field for these young men. Yeah. It's we got to get the academics squared away and the vision for the future, and then we got to find a good sport for them. How has that process been like for you?
Well, I've learned a lot, right? Because I got here 6 years ago. Coach Monken was already 5 years into his tenure, and he was able to educate me quite a bit on how he approaches his recruiting. And, our lacrosse coaches have followed suit, and we really just have to cast a wide net. And character is at the top of our list, right? Like, character has to be unimpeachable. Not that these aren't still, 16, 17-year-old knuckleheads that will do something here and there. Like, we can work with that, but they've got to be honest. They've got to have a baseline of integrity. Their coaches and high school administrators really have to appreciate them as human beings. And then, they better be pretty strong in STEM, because, we don't have history of American dance as one of the classes to take at Army. So all of those things. And, we probably have a handful of guys on our roster that had other FBS offers, probably fewer than 5. And so we put all that together. What we get is young people, chips on their shoulders, really good work ethic. We're able to feed them and have them grow, learn the system. And that's what's being lost in, PJ Fleck, one of the greatest coaches, hands down, in the country. But you can only coach what you got. Right. And if every year you got different guys, you got to re-coach them, reteach them. And what we have the luxury of is kids that come to Army, they're on the scout team as freshmen, and their 4th string is sophomores. And then junior and senior year, they've put on 50 pounds, classroom challenges have slowed down, and now they can really understand their role on the team, play with dudes that they love, very cohesive, very disciplined. And that's really hard to do when you got a new roster every year.
You know, it's kind of nice talking to somebody who doesn't have to, I guess, drone on in some respects about the transfer portal. I think about so much in college sports about, and we see it now, and it's almost, it's kind of becoming an accepted conventional part of the process in college athletics with the portal. And you want to give freedom to players in this respect. We're in the same. You're probably not dealing with that a ton at Arm. I'm just going to go. I'm going to go get a taste of West Point for a year, and then I'm going to maybe jump down to Auburn and War Eagle for a while. That doesn't really feel like that's something that you have to think a ton about, at least.
Yeah, we don't. And we lose some kids here and there. We've lost a couple soccer players and basketball players. But, I think of Bryson Daly, who, in my opinion,
how good is he?
Deserved a trip to New York City as a Heisman finalist. His numbers back that up. But if you've done interviews with him, you hear him. Like, he had a couple Ivy League offers and an FCS school. And here he is running for 31 touchdowns in the American Athletic Conference. And he's a guy, quote unquote, nobody else wanted. And to know him as a human being, to watch him lift weights, to watch him battle through practice like it's a game every day for 4 years, you're like, we hit the jackpot. And there's a lot of guys that share that characteristic.
Yeah, I mean, it's already an easy team to root for, obviously. But reading the SI article, the inside look at the program, which I think everybody should read, it really is a look at just how unique these young men and women are in a day and age where everybody is kind of spoiled, where these new practice facilities, University of Minnesota and the other ones, and then you have West Point. And, of course, there's the stadium renovation, but they don't have these beautiful water fountains and everything. And, like, these kids are not spoiled. Yeah. They're going to be in the military when they leave. It's just such a unique thing. And I think the part about Bryson Daly was exceptional. 2-star athlete, right? 2-star recruit
as a linebacker,
and he's a top 10 in the country in rushing yards.
Yeah.
Well, and you need him well-rounded. He was a multi-sport athlete, I think, down in Texas, right?
That's right.
And found
son of a coach. Yeah.
To West Point. Now, you were a Major League Baseball pitcher. So, I mean, you appreciate the idea of athletics, and you did, kind of find your way there, not through an academy, but through a different path. And now as the athletics director, and you've also been AD and worked with other schools as well, Furman, I believe, prior to West Point. So what is your perception of her? What was that awakening process in terms of what you've seen in other athletics facilities, from Wake Forest, go Demon Deacons, all the way now here at West Point to, how much different it works, how much different it operates, what these kids go through or don't go through based on what you've seen at previous stops? What was like an eye-opening aspect of that for you?
Well, they're still eye-opening. I mean, the abbreviations that the military uses, these classes that they take.
You got those acronyms all written down.
Oh, it took me 3 years, and I'm still learning. And I've learned that
West Point, new ones all the time.
Well, the Army has a ton of them, but West Point has like West Point unique ones. And so, honestly, when I'm in the room with the superintendent, which is the chancellor or president, who just happens to be a 3-star general, who in this case special force guy, which you say yes, sir.
Did you see my back just kind of straightened up? I was thinking, is he around
just in
here?
Case.
Okay. Eric, that's how I feel every day. And so, to compare it to Wake Forest, to Furman, what we try to do, my staff and I, is make it as similar to those institutions as possible. The kids that choose to come to Army do it because they want to serve their country, they want to get that education, and it's our responsibility to give them like an extraordinary Division I athletics experience, because this is the last 4 years that they'll get to play the sport that they love. They're not going to transfer. They're not going to opt out of bowls. They love playing. They love coming to practice. And so while we're not putting, barbershops and volleyball and pools in our facilities, it is important that we're competitive, that they reflect kind of the gold standard that the United States Military Academy wants to live up to. And so we do recruit kids. We do bring them on official visits. We do want them to see, hey, New York City is only 40 miles south of where we are, so that when you are an upperclassman and you can actually leave campus, that there's something to do. But we just want to make sure that they leave Army feeling like, hey, I was a Division I athlete for 4 years, and I got every opportunity that other schools do.
This is the Army Athletics Director, Mike Buddie, hanging out. It's USAA Radio Row. The 125th Army-Navy game is tomorrow. Thank you, USAA, for bringing John Kriesel and myself, Nordo, a chance to interview some of these people. Time for a couple of more, and I want to actually deviate away even from this, and we'll get back there. But you played for the Yankees in the late 90s as a downtrodden. I was six just before I turned 7 when the Twins won the World Series in 1991.
Yeah, Kirby Puckett.
And you're a kid, and you think it's just never going to end, and we're going to see you tomorrow night, and Dan Gladden crossing home plate, and the rest is history. Mostly an incredibly mediocre 90s. You were in the midst of a young Derek Jeter and the Andy Pettitts, that pitching staff, and all. What was that like being in the pinstripes in the late 90s?
Well, it was a once in a lifetime thing, right? And I'm from Cleveland, by the way, so I don't feel bad for you in your one World Series.
They made movies about your favorite team.
Yeah, I getting drafted by the Yankees. Ironically, 1992, the Yankees took their first pick with Jeter. I was their second pick, so we came in together. He was a high school kid. I was a college kid. He skyrocketed. One scout got fired, the other one got promoted. I won't say which one was which. But yeah, that 98 team was just exceptional. And to be honest with you, I use it as kind of a baseline to try to build teams. That team didn't have superstars. They didn't have anybody in the top 10 in batting average. They didn't have anybody in the top 10 in home runs or RBIs. They just had 9 dudes in the lineup that could all do what they were expected to do. And we played good defense and threw strikes. And, it was a wild ride. About halfway through the season, and I was a guy when somebody got hurt, I got called up. And then when they were healthy, I went back down. But I came up, down, was there over half the season. And they just expected to win every day. And, as you guys know, as athletes, right, it's like if you expect to win or you expect to lose, you're right.
Yeah.
And that team expected to win, and it showed, and winning 114 regular season games, 125 and 50 overall.
Wow.
That will hopefully stand for some generations.
Feels like a mindset that works at West Point, right?
That's right.
We in some way, we have to win. You know what I mean?
Yep. The Army only plays road games. Coach Monken always says we fight who we're told, where we're told, and we're expected to win.
So 11-1, first conference championship in team history. Coach Monken, AAC Coach of the Year. Bryson Daly, AAC Offensive Player of the Year. Team's 22 in the rankings. What are you looking for in this game?
Pain.
Love it.
And victory. Our kids, week after week after week, we got beat up against Notre Dame, and physically, mentally, emotionally. They were at practice on Sunday getting lactic acid out, solely focused on the next mission, as they will tell you. And so, the young men from the Naval Academy have had a couple weeks here to start getting focused on us. They're going to be ready. They're tough kids. They're every bit as gritty as ours. But our kids just have been able to find that gear. Our offensive line has stayed healthy. That's a big part of success at this level. But, did I expect to be 11-1 at this point in the season? To be honest with you, I did. I knew we were going to be special. The 4 seniors that are captains and the whole senior group of they're just different, and I can't explain it any better than that. But they're different. They'll be ready to go tomorrow. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be fun.
Thanks for spending time with us. This is so awesome. Appreciate the reverence and the respect that you guys really emulate and offer throughout this entire week, and the chance for a couple of radio guys, a veteran in this case, but a schlep in me that just gets to come from Minneapolis and really soak in a piece of this. I just appreciate you participating in this.
Of course. I hope you enjoy the day tomorrow. Beat Navy, guys.
Yes.
That's Mike Buddie, is Army Athletics Director. John Kriesel's here. I'm Nordo. It's Radio Row. The 125th Army-Navy game is tomorrow right here in D.C. thanks to USAA.